everybody. Stadium as South Melbourne get ready to take on Port Melbourne in a local derby here on a standalone NPL Top Flight Sunday. It is South Melbourne who have been in pretty good form of recent, with victories over Heidelberg United and the Bentley Greens in recent history. It was a little blimp on the radar last week as they went down to Dandenong City 3-0. And for Port Melbourne, they've been in solid form themselves in a home draw against Avondale last week. They have defeated Kingston City, and a draw against Dandenong City sees them in fairly good form. It's a very much changed lineup for South Melbourne, definitely with an eye for cup fixtures on Tuesday night. And we can quickly go through the starting lineups of Esteban Quintus' side. It's Josh Doran for his first game for South Melbourne, NPL game. He starts in goal. And a back four of Brad Norton, Kostas Stratomitros, Tom Olsen too in his first game for South Melbourne, Perry Lambropoulos, and in midfield it's Marcus Schoen, Melvin Beckett and Jerry Salados. It's Giuseppe Marifiotti on the wings with Nick Krusaratis, with Peter Skipetis also for his first start in NPL Victoria for South Melbourne. On the bench, Nikola Ruganovic, Jake Marshall, Keenan Gibson, Zachary Bates and Bill Constantinides. For Port Melbourne, Matthew Syme starts in goal. Back four of Amadou Karoma. Most likely Alan Mulcahy will move into defence with Maker and Chris Kiusis returned from a stint in Bulgaria, and he's part of the back four with Daniel Clark, Karen Ferns and Yuta Konagaya in midfield, Kamal Ibrahim, Vali Sesnik and Sam Ford in attack. On the bench it's Nick Ayres with Christian Bombachi, Finn Beekers, Majak Mawith, Brody Taylor and former South Melbourne player and the brother of Giuseppe Marifiotti, Giordano Marifiotti, is on the bench for Port Melbourne. It is Adam Bavkar, the man in the middle, with William Samsa, Peter Jurowski and Daniel Breen as his assistant and fourth assistant referee. And we are underway here at Lakeside Stadium. My name is Chris Gleeson, and it's an absolute pleasure to bring into NPL Victoria commentary for the first time Paul Mavroudis. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, welcome. It's great to be here.
So Paul Mavroudis is a very well-known face around here at Lakeside Stadium. He's got an excellent blog too that is well worth checking out, and has done a bit of work with FNR as well, Paul.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the first time I'm doing a live commentary for a game, a bit different from the usual FNR stuff, but hopefully enjoy and hopefully we won't make too many mistakes.
So you'll be right, Paul. We'll be right here for what should be an excellent game, as Beckett may have taken a deflection off Sesnik, and Beckett is trying to let the referee know that, but it's the throw that goes to Port Melbourne. And now Mulcahy into the box looking for Ibrahim, and in the end Big Doran gets his first touch in a South Melbourne shirt. And South through Norton. Now the long ball over the top. It's going to find Marifiotti. Chris Kiusis gets his body in the way. In the end, Kiusis does well to play it up to Kamal Ibrahim. Mulcahy looking for Ford, trying to hold the ball up, and too many blue shirts around him. South Melbourne get the ball back. Norton. Good turn in midfield from him. South look to move into the attack. It's out wide with Krosaratis. Dangerous ball into the box. Off the quad of Chris Kiusis. Marifiotti will get the ball back though. Fired it in, looking for Salados. Trying to turn his Jerry Salados and has to play it back. The cross comes in now. Deep to the back post. Krosaratis keeps it alive, but in the end Symes will collect. So positive start from South Melbourne, Paul.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think they're going to have to find a different way of getting the ball into the box than they used to, because with Billy Constantinides on the bench now, I mean, it's a much shorter forward line with Skipetis at the front.
And it is Maker. Let's bring it out. We're just trying to sort out a few little audio glitches at the moment. How's your volume? Is your volume really high on that? Can you adjust your volume? Now it's Crossaradas. Going to cut inside. Finds its way to Shrone in the box. Can he find a South teammate in the end? The angle was very sharp and it hits the side netting.
That was a pretty unusual kind of effort. I think he should have probably centred it in. I think the South crowd agrees here.
As Port Melbourne restart the game. Mulcahy wins it back for Port Melbourne. Now Kamal Ibrahim. He's got teammates out wide. Cross is driven in that South deal with. Now Sesnick, edge of the box. And Mulcahy has another shot. It's going to spin back into play for Kamal Ibrahim, who is onside. And then a good couple of challenges come in. Can't completely get the ball back. And now South look to counter. Back over the top. And in the end goes out for a goal kick. Sorry, we're just filling around with a few audio issues, a bit of glitches as we sometimes have, Paul, but seems to manage to get that all back on track and full focus back on the game here at Lakeside Stadium. It's a pretty decent crowd for a late Sunday cold game. It's been a pretty good day though in Melbourne.
It's pretty warm actually, surprisingly so, because it's been a bit colder early in the week for those listening outside of Melbourne. It's unusual though, a Sunday game. You don't get too many of those anymore in the NPL. I think everyone's moved to Friday nights.
Well, even last year the Monday night was more popular than the Sunday with Bulleen in the top flight with Kingston, just Kingston this year. But
I think you can count them on one hand, the teams that play on Sundays nowadays.
See, there's always a pretty high fixture list on the Fridays. Now it's Shrone. Over the top. Skipetis. Keeps it alive. Trying to cross the ball back in. It's going to find Salados, and his shot goes wide. And Porter happy just to let it go for a goal kick, but South fans are encouraged by that.
I think Salados had a lot more time than he thought there. He probably could have actually placed it. And on other occasions this season, he would have, I think, maybe stopped the ball, taken a more controlled shot.
Simon's back with the goal kick, and transition from the defence to attack has been blistering so far for South Melbourne. Long ball looking for Ford. Ball bounces and Sesnick. It's out muscled from that one by Alton. And in the end, Doran just clears it. Interesting story, Doran coming into the side too. He impressed them in a cup game a few weeks ago, and so much so that South signed him.
Well, they did need a backup keeper. Obviously, Alistair Bray, for whatever reason, didn't quite work out. And, well, if you're going to have someone that's almost as tall as the crossbar itself, that's a pretty good option. And he did play well against South when he was playing at Doveton as well. So, step up for him, see what he can do. He's got a rare start.
He's going to make the most of the opportunity. As we said, South definitely with an eye to the cup, made many changes for this game. Karoma, deflected cross is dangerously area, but in the end it's well dealt with. Port Melbourne will have another throw. Beckett wins the ball back, Salados. This is where South have looked dangerous so far, Skipetis. And in the end, tracking back well was Karoma, gets it back for Port Melbourne. It's well headed away by Stratomitros, who is a makeshift centre-back again today. He's He's been a solid signing since coming over from Oakley.
I think in the last month or so in particular, he's really set the standard. I think getting a much more settled kind of lineup, not working with a two defensive midfield formation. He's been able to control the game, and he's been a really big, important part of South's recovery after a kind of a sloppy month of results.
In the end, it's Karoma with a pass back that Mackay will have to send to his keeper, and they try to switch it out wide. Kiusis, in the end, has passed the ball beautifully to South Melbourne, and now it's Skapetis, edge of the box. Can he get the shot away? He lays it off, and it's 1-0 to South Melbourne. It's Giuseppe Marafiotti who drives it into the bottom corner, and the early positive start from South Melbourne sees them take the lead here in the derby.
Wonderful goal. I mean, so often in the NPL we see these goals come from mistakes, and Kiusis made the mistake out wide. Possibly could have just left it out or just got it upfield. Instead he's coughed it up. The easy ball, the Port Melbourne defence left straight, and a nice finish by Marafiotti.
So Giuseppe Marafiotti just laid off onto that left foot, and it's crept just inside the corner. Symes is a big goalkeeper himself and quite a talented shot stopper, but he had no chance to stop that one. And South Melbourne with the early lead here at Lakeside Stadium within the first 10 minutes of the game.
I think it's his sixth goal for the season, which is a nice return.
So Port Melbourne have to restart a goal behind. One of the sides that's precariously positioned in between the relegation spots and the finals is Port Melbourne, same as South, as they're on the attack again. Marafiotti trying to lay it off to Skapetis. And in the end, Maker's touch takes it back to the goalkeeper.
And really important goal for South Melbourne too, because they've had these periods of play during the season where they've dominated their opponents and haven't been able to put them away, and then they often give up a very cheap goal. So very encouraging for South to get that one on the board, force Port Melbourne to come at them now.
It is Port Melbourne. Young through Karen Ferns. Just making his way into this Port Melbourne side. Maker replacing Michael Eager, who, unfortunately for Port fans, it's 5 yellow cards and he's suspended for today's game. As they look to move the ball out wide, took a deflection, and it will be a Port Melbourne corner.
That's definitely got to unsettle them without being with Michael Eager there, because he's such an experienced player and obviously knows this ground very well, being a former South Melbourne captain.
That's it. Alan Kearney, another experienced defender out of this Port Melbourne side as well, so it's very makeshift at the back.
Another ex-South man.
That's it. So there's plenty of, I guess, interbreeding between clubs here in the NPL, but particularly with Port Melbourne and South Melbourne.
Oh, I think there's more ex-South Melbourne players out there than South players ever. Oh, this is ridiculous. There's so many.
Dangerous ball to the back post. Sesnick tries to keep it alive. South get it clear now. Salados. Has he got support from South players? Not really, so he tries to go himself and hold it up, and in the end the challenge is made, and it will be a Port throw. Well, the linesman has signalled that, so Chris Kiusis. Now Kamal Ibrahim trying to drive it into the corner, and he's got himself a foul, so well done by Kamal Ibrahim, because South Melbourne was swarming over him. He really had no other options other than to try to get a corner or a free.
He's done well there, and actually South Melbourne have been quite susceptible from the set pieces, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle this, especially with a player of Kamal's ability out wide. They don't want to give away those free kicks.
South Melbourne have to defend this corner. Can Port Melbourne hit back pretty much straight away? It evades almost everybody. And in the end, Maker was the one who got a slight touch of it at the back post and out for a goal kick.
I was expecting the in-swinger there, and they've just taken it very quickly. So that's a really good routine there. I think South will have to be alert to that next time. You tend to only get away with those once.
And then it's a coach's nightmare if it happens again and they score.
Never say never.
Doran plays it long. Crossaratus, it goes out for a throw. Mulkai gives one for... tried to give one for Ford to chase, but in the end, you've got to be running on the running track to get to that one. It's Norton. Beckett In the end, he's just falconed his teammate in Schrone. It's one for the highlight reel, that one.
He rushed it again. I think, again, a bit more time there than he thought he did.
In the end, Port can't hold on to it, so since South Melbourne have taken the lead, we've had plenty of throw-ins on following minutes afterwards.
Which I think suits the home team because they're in front. They want to kill off the momentum.
In the end, Fernsnell, was forced into a mistake.
It's a classic coach's rule. The first 3 or 4 minutes after a goal is just kill the game. Just get the stoppages. Don't let the other team get back into the game because they're going to be all fired up and trying to get the goal back quickly.
I've got a comment through for Peter, says Reganovic is on the bench. That is correct. So Reganovic is on the bench, giving Doran the opportunity to start for South Melbourne. Demir Kulash says, good luck, Paul.
Thank you, Demir.
It's now Norton. Up the line, and the foul's being given against Karoma. A chance for South Melbourne to have a set-piece opportunity as Marcus Schrone gets ready to step up to take it.
Marcus Schrone's delivery this season has veered between the sublime and the ridiculous. Let's hope for sublime from the South point of view.
It's not from this end. Is your audio really high on the camera? So wait for Schrone. Dangerous ball in. Back post cleared away. And a great opportunity for South again. And out for kick here for Symes. And for Sesnick. Conagay with a great leap, but Beckett will be the first one to it. Trying to keep it alive. All he does is end up giving Port Melbourne the throw. Now Karoma. Interesting to see Giordano Marafiotti on the bench for Port Melbourne as well, making that transfer to the Sharks, looking for more opportunities to play first-team football.
It just hasn't worked out for him at South Melbourne, and good luck to him because he's a talented player. I guess the setup at South Melbourne didn't work for him. There's a lot of attacking options as well, and they've been performing for the most part. Always very difficult to break into a team like that. I mean, even a player with, say, Nick Chrysaridis' ability has struggled to get into this team.
So the attack has been no problem for South Melbourne with options. Also lost a few midfielders in the window too, in Dean Beravescos, Ethan Gage as well. They've added it with Melvin Beckett and Peter Skapetis, among others.
And very interesting sort of additions because they're not really like for like. I mean, Beravescos, Gage, very defensive midfielders. Beckett and Skapetis, obviously very attacking players.
In the end, Mulcahy sit in. In the end, Lambropoulos will see it out for a goal kick. So the game's just...
It's hit a bit of a lull, hasn't it?
As after that goal from South Melbourne. As Nick Chrysaridis gets some new instructions from the South bench. Big opportunity for him today. He's been a bit of a bit part player for South this year. A lot of times on the bench, and he's got the chance to start. We know his talent. Absolutely,
and it's an interesting thing because obviously there was actually a transfer involved with that. So to see him actually on the bench or not in the squad, that obviously hasn't worked out to South's liking, I suppose, and maybe to Nick's, I would assume. But we know he's a quality player. I mean, a 10 goals a season kind of forward/midfielder, most teams will take that.
And Port's on the other hand too with Sam Ford, the Englishman. Spent his youth career at West Ham United. Just the 4 goals for this season so far. He's tied with 3 players actually on that as well. Kamal Ibrahim and Veli Sesnick. In the end, it's Schrone around the corner. Maker up in the air. Beckett and Conagay, who shields the ball away from Beckett well. Now here's Daniel Clark and Cusis, the two former Hume City players combined. Lambropoulos has got another opportunity to shield it out for a goal kick. You see Port getting more possession in the game since that goal, but just really breaking down in the final third at the moment.
If there's one area where Port should be able to exploit South Melbourne, it's in terms of possession, because South hasn't been able to maintain possession or maintain tempo in games. And I think Port has the players, the experienced players like Kearney, that can do that. They haven't got him today, sorry. They should be able to control possession, especially when you've got players like Melvin Beckett, not a possession player. Should be further up the field. Obviously, they're rotating the squad a bit today, South Melbourne. So he's playing a bit deeper than you probably like him to play.
Also got another comment through from Ross. Refreshing, have someone who knows their stuff when it comes to South. Keep it up, Pauls. And Valley Sesnick, a real barometer for Port when he's up and running with his speed. And I definitely agree with that. At the moment he's forward, tries to hold it up for Port. Good turn. Now here is Sesnick. He can drive it at the South defence. There's plenty of blue shirts around him. Once again, he's done well to get the throw.
Not much support there. I think he could have maybe used someone at least as a decoy.
Now Karoma. Konagaya. In the end, the flag has gone up. So South Melbourne will get this free kick. Possibly a handball.
Handball or offside, maybe, I don't know. No one's complaining. That's usually a good sign. Or maybe they've learned the lessons, it's not worth complaining.
I've never seen a referee change his decision, though. So
I have seen it once.
You've seen it once?
Liverpool versus Roma several years ago.
Oh, there you go.
Back when I still used to watch that stuff.
Yeah, it's Crossaratus trying to play it forward. Yeah, and it's Clark. Finds Kamal Ibrahim. Once again, Port go into wide areas. Now in the midfield, Mulkai. Karoma. It's trying to switch it over the top. Norton will cut that out. And it finds its way to Salados. Can't find a teammate though. Konagaya. Karoma into midfield. There's Ibrahim again. And forward, this is a better build up by Port Melbourne. Konagaya lays it off and Karoma looking for the return pass. Well read by Salados. In the end, Norton can't find a teammate. Mulkai. Now Clark in the midfield again. Going across the pitch to Kiusis. And the ball's been won back. Beckett, Schrone, Salados. Now Jerry can turn. Skipetis goes from outside to in. Salados switches play for Marifiotti, the goal scorer. There's Giuseppe Marifiotti. Crosses it in dangerously. Ferns gets it away. Beckett. Crossaratus. Now south through Lambropoulos. And Marifiotti. Port Melbourne are very deep on the edge of their box, inviting the pressure on from South Melbourne. And in the end, the ball deflects back off Brad Norton. Port will have the throw.
That's well defended by Port. I mean, under pressure, I think South had a lot of free players, especially on their right-hand side. Ended up getting the crossing, but not very dangerous. They've got to do better with those opportunities.
Thrown in, looking for Ford again. And Port just inch up the field with, seems like they're playing territory game and getting these free kicks further and further up the pitch.
And a lot of side-to-side movement, nothing really through the middle yet.
Smolkai tries to find Sesnick. Doran's out of his box, and in the end he had to head that ball away.
Not sure what he was doing so far out. It was very strange.
It's a nervous moment there for the goalkeeper. His first NPL game. Clark. Kamal Ibrahim. On his day, he can really terrorise defences. Try to play the ball for Sesnick. Once again, Norton well positioned. Salados tries to play a straight ball through the middle. Maker. Heads it away. Clark can't reel it in. Peter Skapetis. Salados. Back post delivery. And in the end, it harmlessly finds its way to Symes.
I think one of the areas South is winning in this game at the moment is the second ball. When there's a loose ball, South's onto it straight away. Port not getting that at the moment. They've hit quite a few long balls, a few crosses, maybe a couple of mistakes from the South defence, but it's always been cleaned up with the South defence again. So they've got to get to before the ball. It's pretty basic stuff, I think.
So again, Port just very cautious to play it out from the back. Chris Kiusis, Maker, and Curran Ferns are three players who haven't really played much for Port Melbourne. A couple of new signings there. Must admit, both defences are quite makeshift. Karoma loses out to Beckett. Now Salados. Skapetis can't get there. Konagaya trying to turn. Alton's done well. Now into the channel for Ford. And in the end, Norton tried to concede the throw, but I think he's ended up giving up a corner.
That was great work by Konagaya. That's the loose ball I'm talking about. There was 50-50 opportunity there. They won it, and they've got a great chance now to do something.
I do is Chris Kiusis, who, after spending a full season over in Bulgaria, has come back with a pretty questionable haircut. Goes short. Ibrahim, good turn to get into the box. And in the end, Beckett, for about the fourth or fifth time, wins the ball back for South Melbourne and starts the counter-attack. Skapetis. As the Port defence retreats, Marafiotti trying to cut it back for Schroen, and Maker is in the right position.
I think you can tell there which one's Marafiotti's good foot.
In fact, it was Karoma the one who cut that out. As Maker was going back in a position, you can definitely tell, very left-footed playing on that right-hand side. Quite often he cuts inside, as we saw with the goal. Switching ball, Salados. Norton. And you see South Melbourne through Beckett. Over the top, that's Ferns will head away. Now Clark. And in the end gets pushed in the back. South fans unhappy because they did see the handball in the second. Well, they thought the first time, but definitely the second. But that second one happened with a big push in the back.
Not a great ball by Beckett. I think it's sort of given up the ghost a bit too early in the phase of play. It's a short attacking lineup here. I don't think Skapetis is going to win too many headers or against the big Port Melbourne defence here.
We see how quick they can be when they counter-attack with numbers.
I mean, nothing wrong with mixing it up, but just be aware of your teammates' strengths.
You see Kamal Ibrahim come to a more central location. They try to find Konagaya. Now Ibrahim around the corner. Kiusis, how's the delivery? And it's to the back post, says Nick. Can't keep it alive. The ball's just stayed along the line. And in the end, it's still in play. Sesnick wins it back. Crosses it near post. And in the end, Alton, who was bumped as he tried to head that away, gets the foul.
And those are the kinds of mistakes that South have been making this season, where that ball should have gone out, should have been a goal kick, should have been no threat at all. Instead, they've coughed it up in a very dangerous position. For better cross, could be 1-1.
Storen gets ready to take the goal kick.
That's a foul, I think, actually.
As with the push on Alton as he tried to head it away. Doran Long. Kiusis up in the air. Mulcahy. Maker and Ferns. And in the end, one of them has to just clear it. Konagaya again misses out. This time he gets past Beckett. He's turned him. All these players went centrally, and when he cut back, there was no one to pass to. And now South once again with the releasing ball to Cruceratis. And in the end, an excellent challenge from Maker. He couldn't find the teammate with the pass and out for a throw.
great challenge by Maker, because if Cruceratus gets through there, he's going to do some damage.
And we've got a comment from Dimitros, but I don't speak Greek, mate, so I'll have to probably get you to look at that one.
Oh, jeez. Mr. Demetrios Jim George is not rating Port Melbourne very highly.
Okay,
not impressed with
that's the loose translation, I'm guessing.
The translation is "we are killing the dead."
Okay, there we go.
Not rating Port Melbourne very much.
So thank you, Dimitros. It's always good to learn on the job as well too.
The pronunciation is "skotonomitos pethamenos."
There we go.
It doesn't translate very well, but for the Greek listeners out there, they'll enjoy that one.
Now, in the midfield, Cruceratus rides the challenge. Now, Jerry Salados goes himself, and in the end, the shot goes out for a throw, but it wasn't too far away, to be truthful.
A little ambitious. I would have played the percentage there, low across the goals. Maybe something more could have happened. I'm not sure what quite he was aiming for there. Would have been a spectacular goal if he'd achieved it.
So the defender was always trying to shield the inside, not allow Salados to cut back onto that dangerous right foot. In the end, trusted himself on the left. As Maker wins the ball back. Now Amadou Karoma. And if this sits for Cesnik, he could be in business, but Alton will get there first. And in the end, it's a neat pass back.
It's done very well there.
Great composure from the youngster coming down from Queensland.
I've heard good things.
Now Beckett. Schrone. And Salados. Once again, Port retreats so deep. Cross comes in and the header. And it was a good opportunity. But in the end, the header goes over the top.
Unfortunately, the cross was behind the player there, and that's always going to be a very difficult one to get back into play.
Peter Skapetis in a great position, but as you said, just behind him, he had to do a little bit too much to force the header towards goal. In the end, gets underneath it, but another dangerous cross from South Melbourne.
And they're moving the wingers around a bit, so Cruceratus, Salados, Marafiori, all moving around a bit, so they will tend to change positions during a game, depending on how the coach feels, I guess, where the game's heading. It does make it difficult for oppositions to know who to man up at any given time.
So I got a question from Stuart Webster, a long-time goalkeeper in Victorian football. Why is Josh Doran starting in front of Reganovic? I think just with the cup game and a bit of a rest, and Salados, his ball is just a bit too heavy, so...
Yeah, I think that's probably just it. Just give him a go, see how he does, and obviously with a different kind of defence as well, maybe it's not worth having Reganovic adding further confusion, get a few more players with a game time. But then again, he's a good goalkeeper as well, so give him a go.
That's the thing with Reganovic, who last year looked at retiring, got the opportunity to have a short stint with Richmond before finding his way back to South Melbourne. So he is still looking for South to find that new number one and hand the gloves over to.
Well, it should have been Alistair Bray. Unfortunately, things just went very badly with that first game against Bulleen last season, where he copped the season-ending injury and just hasn't recovered properly. I think Bray's now at Bo Morris, and hopefully works out a bit better for him there, making his way back up to the big league, because he's a quality keeper on his day.
It's a real professional career that was ruined by that knee injury, and
just so many injuries for Alistair Bray. It's a real shame, because at his best he should be a National League starting keeper any day of the week.
Now it's Salados. Loses out to Karoma. Konagaya. Gang trying to lay it into the path of Cesnik, and once again South defend it well and get it back. And now the ball's forward. Cruceratus. Maker gets those long legs there and is able to momentarily stop the attack. Schrone. Trying to play it through the corner. Cesnik gets it back. Switching ball that Beckett cuts out, and in the end goes himself and slices it horribly wide.
I think one of the things that South struggles with is they get into dangerous positions. They don't send it in quickly enough. I mean, there was an opportunity there for Salados to send it in a bit quicker to the back post. He's hesitated, waited for a bit more numbers to come up, but that allows the Port defence to get back as well. Got to be a bit more decisive.
Symes plays it long. Norton. Konagaya rides a few challenges, and now he's got Kamal Ibrahim with Kiyusis overlapping. Ibrahim tried to cut inside and do it himself. And it was probably the wrong decision. Marafiotti loses out now. Mulcahy. So again, they go for that switching ball to Sesnick that's cut out. Norton's got his positioning perfectly so far today. Now there's space in front of Crossaratus. Once again, South run at this Port Melbourne defence. As Crossaratus step over, trying to find the angle to shoot. Karoma blocks it. Konagaya now Karoma. Only again the option is Sesnick. Good first touch to get it to the box, cuts it back, and in the end, Stratomitros was there to put it out for a corner.
Safety first. But a great chance for Port. That's more of what they want. Players getting the ball in space, because so far Norton and Lambropoulos have done a pretty good job of squeezing them out. And they've had very little through the middle as well. So
wait for Kiyusis, the left back, to move his over to the right-hand side to in-swing this corner. It's right on the money. Maker couldn't quite get his head to it. Sesnick tried to keep it alive back into the box, but South get it back. Pass is a little bit too short for Skapetis. And Port get the throw now. Beckett gets the touch, but Lambropoulos will get there. And they can go through midfield. Salados. Karoma cuts it out. Now at the edge of the box, Clark turns onto the left. Couldn't find a teammate. Gang, it's Beckett, the one to cut it out. Kamal Ibrahim. Ferns. It's again Kiyusis. Ibrahim. In the end, it's cut out again by Beckett, who's transitioned into a defensive midfielder outstandingly well so far.
I can see Port getting on top at the moment.
So they get the chance to shoot. Ford does on the turn, they get a corner.
Last 5 minutes, they've had South pressed in their own half, and I think...
I'll take this quickly. It's too deep for Sesnick and will go out. As you were saying, sorry, Paul.
They've got South in their own half at the moment, and South's really struggling to get out. And if they can pinch a goal here in the last 10 minutes of this half, I think they'll be pretty happy with how the first half actually ended up.
It's, as you've said too, that inconsistencies in games that South Melbourne have had. They've had 20, 30 minutes of games where they've just looked unstoppable, and then they have these lapses of 10, 15 minutes that let sides in. It's cost them quite a few points in the season so far, and that's probably a real big reason why they're not in the top 6 at the moment. And,
flirting with the relegation zone in their own way as well, along with Port. And I think Port's a better team than their later position suggests. I'm kind of stumped when I watch Port. I think they're not that bad. I'm not saying they're in Avondale or Heidelberg's league or Bentley's league, but they should be closer to the 6 than they are.
It's ball thrown in. Adam Piddick has done an excellent job with this Port lineup, getting them into finals last year. He said they're one of the best defensive sides in this league. It's very hard to score against, and that's why it was so important for South to get that early goal.
And the thing about Port is, the last couple of seasons, not a lot of those big names. So doing a lot with not as much as other teams probably have.
Skapetis with some good skill. And in the end, it's deflected out for a corner. As you said, the heart of the defence has been ripped out with Kearney and Eager not playing today.
Eager's such a big loss because he just controls not just the centre-back position, but he also acts as a defensive midfielder. And so he knows how to read the play very well. Impossible to replace a player like that.
Schroen's ready to take the corner kick. Zonal defence for Port Melbourne.
I don't trust zonal defence.
And there's quite a few players right in front of the goalkeeper as well. It's going to be at the back post that is headed away. And now Salados will try with the left. Oohs and the ahs from the South crowd in front of us, but it was always rising over the top.
I think you had to have a shot there because otherwise if he coughs the ball up, Port are away. So play the percentages, have a shot. Didn't work out, but at least now you can reset.
Simon's ready to restart the game. 37 minutes played here at Lakeside Stadium. South Melbourne with the goal from Giuseppe Marifiotti with a driving effort just outside the box. And now it's Kiusis. He can score from this range, but in the end, lays it off to Kamal Ibrahim.
We talked about before about South's indecision in terms of getting around the box. A bit of Port's indecision there because they should have probably had a crack at get the cross in a bit earlier.
They stay on the attack with Ford. Can he keep the ball in his possession? He can, across the keeper, and it's in. And it's Valley Sesnick who equalises for Port Melbourne. As you've said, the equaliser looked like it was going to happen the last 5 minutes with Port starting to get back on top. And they get their goal, and Valley Sesnick is the scorer again. It's his 5th goal in the NPL season. As we see Adam Pittick on the bench celebrate with his team. And it is South Melbourne with those little lapses in concentration, and they concede again, Paul.
I think it was a good play by Ford, though. He turned his defender inside out. He did that in the return fixture early this season as well. But there were 2 players free at the back post there for Port Melbourne. They could have raffled it.
We restart the game. In the end, Sesnick had 2 bites at the cherry on the second one. He beat Doran. But the goal was all made from Sam Ford, as you said. That turn in the box opened it all up. And South with his free kick now.
I mean, that comes from the pressure, but credit to Sam Ford. That's the kind of thing that changes the game.
Set piece opportunity for South Melbourne again. As youngster Alton has been sent forward for this. In the end, Port half get it clear. Sesnick will go over the top. Ford's got one to chase. Norton will go back to his goalkeeper. Doran Long. Now Beckett's got time to control it in midfield. Salados keeps driving at the Port defence, and the pass almost found its way through. Sesnick away.
That's what you want to see Jerry Salados doing, dribbling at players, because oppositions genuinely are afraid of players that can dribble at them.
I've been so impressed with Salados in the NPL with playing with Northcote last year. He was a real shining light for them. It was a great pick-up by South Melbourne. And there's not too many number 10s that are as quick and at turning players with the back to goal and just running at defences as Jerry Salados, and he's got all the tricks too with his long-range shooting and setting up others. He really is an excellent prospect for a much higher level. As we said, he was with Melbourne City in his late development years in his teens.
Had a bit of a trial with Central Coast along with quite a few other NPL Victoria players as well, just recently.
I think there was about half of the NPL was up there on a Central Coast trial. They did send quite a few from our neck of the woods up there. Trying to find the next Kane Shepherd or Elvis Campsober. Mulcahy.
I'll tell you what, they could do worse than getting Muhammad Al-Wad from Melbourne Knights.
Ball forward. Beckett. In the end, the pass is ill-directed. As we are in the final 5 minutes here of the first half, here in the derby. Karoma. Konagaya. Just trying to clip the ball in. Ambropoulos lets it bounce and hooks it over his shoulder.
Bit of miscommunication there. They weren't sure who was supposed to go for that one, unless it's been cleared.
Another Port throw. Now Ibrahim. In the end, Beckett clears it up the line. There's Maker. Now Clark to Kiusis. Trying to find players in the box. In the end, Doran.
Whoa.
It was an awkward half volley, but
you won't want to see that again. That was less than impressive.
A few nervous moments for the South Melbourne goalkeeper on Taboo. And we do have a comment, when's the Cup game? Tuesday night, Knight Stadium, South Melbourne fans, Melbourne Knight fans.
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, thank you, Paul. The Tuesday is the Human Oakley. And in the end, it's Clark, puts it wide. Still, they've got to try to get the 3 points here before they turn their attentions completely to the Cup game. But as we said, with the starting lineup with so many changes, they're definitely looking at that Cup fixture with Melbourne Knights playing Friday night. They've got a bit more of a rest. Cross comes in. Sesnick back across. Now, Crossaratus. Sesnick tracks him all the way. Now Salados. Way to numbers, gets it back for Port. It's Kiusis. Trying to get it back again. Beckett. And now Salados again. Lets the ball run. Jerry Salados in fine form again. Now Crossaratus. Back to Salados. Curls it. And it wasn't too far away from Jerry Salados. Another great move from South Melbourne from defence to attack.
That's a bit better from South Melbourne. They've been under the pump for a good 10, 15 minutes at the moment, and Skapetis had 5 players in between him and the goal. Better to give it to Salados. Pretty close there.
Let's Port get it back. Mulcahy. Now Ferns. Curran Ferns. Follows in. Connor Guyer with the first time layoff. Will find Karoma. Trying to cross it in. It's deflected out. I think it might be a throw this time though. South thought it was a corner. In fact, I think the referee has said that it's a corner.
Yeah, I think the linesman pointed towards the corner flag, so a bit of confusion there. But
I almost caught South Melbourne off guard because they set up for the corner, and the throw to short to forward was easily made. But now the correct decision. It's Kiusis with another in-swinger. Maker throws himself at it. In the end, it goes over the top.
A little bit of indecision there from Doran as well. He wasn't sure whether he should or shouldn't come out. Always happens, I think, when you've got a new goalkeeper, a new defence. You've got to take a couple of games to work out the kinks.
Doran with a sliced clearance. He's having quite a few nervous moments. And then South get it over the top. As we are now into extra time here in the first half.
I think Port will come out of this half a lot happier if they can keep this 1-1 scoreline, because they're under the pump for the first 15, 20, 25 minutes, and they've worked their way into the game very well.
Schoen can drive it forward. And yeah, looking for Skapetis, it's cut out. Sesnick slows things down and runs into trouble. Marafiotti fights for it. And now Schroen. Skapetis will get it. Schroen and Skapetis fight it in low. Karoma and Mulcahy. And now Ford's got a chance to hold this up. It's header looking for Ibrahim. Will in the end work out. Kiusis. See the confidence build in Port as this half has worn on. Konagaya. A heavy touch by Kiusis.
Confidence, work rate, a bit getting out into the wide positions. I think they're going to be looking really forward to the second half, and South's got a lot of work to do. I mean, it's 1-1, but the game's about momentum, and you've got to see who's going to come out in the second half a bit better, because as well as South Melbourne started that half, Port finished it just as equally as well. And I think Port will be happy they got that goal back, and they'll probably be the more confident team going into the break.
Well, that's how it is here at halftime at Lakeside Stadium in the local derby between South Melbourne and Port Melbourne. Giuseppe Marafiotti in the 9th minute with an excellent goal from just outside the box. But Valley Sesnick's 39th minute equaliser, and that's the way it is here at halftime. We're just going to have a short break for about 10 minutes, and we'll be back for the second half. Welcome back to the second half here at Lakeside Stadium. It is South Melbourne 1, it is Port Melbourne 1, and South Melbourne's goal scorer Giuseppe Marafiotti has just made way at half time for the very quick Zachary Bates, who has been starting most games over the last month and made a real impression. He's got 45 minutes to show his skill again as Port Melbourne kick off. My name is Chris Gleeson, and once again I'm joined by Paul Mavrudis in commentary for NPL Victoria Streams. Welcome back, Paul.
Good to be back, Chris.
As the ball's kicked out.
Should note it's getting a bit cold as well, and there's a sort of a swirly breeze. I'm not sure which direction it's coming from, so that'll make things harder for the goalkeepers as well.
There's one thing for sure, it's definitely going right towards us. That's here in the grandstands. I must admit, this is probably the best vantage point you can really get for a commentator across the NPL grounds, here in probably the old Tower at Night Stadium.
It's a bit unusual because, oh, hold on.
There's Salados. This game uses that pace of ease. Little reverse ball's excellent. Here's a chance for a curling shot, and it's straight at Symes.
Not a bad start from South, a bit more promising, a bit more lively than what they finished the first half off with.
Zach Bates with just coming on, he curled it, just didn't have enough power or direction to either corner to beat Symes in goal, and now it's Clark. And Kamal Ibrahim looked for the 1-2. Good sliding challenge, sees it out for a throw. Now Kiusis. Ford. Coming together between him and Beckett. In the end, the referee just waves it away and says, "Get up, boys, play on."
Beckett appears to be playing a defensive mid position, which is very strange for a player of his calibre, his pedigree, I suppose. He's not a defender, and he's sort of making sure to be the extra player whenever Port get up to set where the ball is.
Solden heads it away. And once again, Salados. Just the wrong pass, and in the end, Symes mops it up. Kiusis.
Everyone just misread that pass, the defenders and the attackers.
Now Port will build up from the back. There's Ibrahim. 4 drops deep to pick it up. Kiusis just behind Kamal Ibrahim. Ball's one back. In the end, Croseratus wins the throw for South. So there was South Melbourne with a really strong start in this game, running at the Port defence at will, and in the end it was Giuseppe Marafiotti with that driven shot into the bottom corner. But since about probably the half an hour mark, Port really got back into the game, and they got their equaliser through Valley Sesnick in the 39th minute, Paul.
And as we talked about in the first half, South Melbourne have these moments during games where they just switch off or they go back into their own shells, and Port took advantage of it.
In the end, it's horribly sliced out by Symes. South Melbourne, a win today could move them above Altona to 7th. Ibrahim. And now Mulcahy. So often he gets the chance to motor forward from midfield. Ball clipped in. Beckett. Half gets it clear, and in the end, South go long, and the offside flag goes up against Skapetis.
Bit slow to get back onside there, Skapetis.
And now Clark. Once again, Kamal Ibrahim finds that little bit of room in midfield. Telegraphed the pass, and it was cut out. Once again, it's sloppy from both sides to start the second half, and a good dodge there from Adam Bavkar, the referee. Konagaya. Now Ferns, Ford around the corner. In the end, Oran just gets it clear. Mulcahy. Now back to Ferns and back to Symes. Cusis forward, but that'll be headed away by Shredomitros, and now Salados over the top. It's going to sit for Cruceratus. Trying to play it into the box first time, went with the nutmeg pass, but in the end it's deflected out for a throw.
A bit of concern here for South is a few of the balls that Port have played in this second half have actually gone behind and around Beckett, so clearly we've changed the game plan around, and then they've got to watch it, because the third or fourth time might not work out so well for South Melbourne.
Lambropoulos is one of the former Port Melbourne players that have now in this South Melbourne lineup. Into the box, make it clear. Beckett dispossessed, and now Mulcahy trying to play it over the top, but in the end it's too close to the goalkeeper, and a golden chance on the counter for Port Melbourne hasn't worked out.
2 or 3 correct options, and he made the 4th wrong option.
Lambropoulos. Cusis wins that one.
Gee, Lambropoulos got oxygen poisoning from up there, being that high up the field.
Yes, he's pretty much just stayed up there the last 5 minutes. Now back into position.
Not his strong suit, Perry Lambropoulos, getting that far up the field. I mean, he's capable once he's up there of doing things, as most players are, but very unusual to see him that far up the field.
Skipetis out wide. Cruceratus trying to cross it into the box. South get the corner though.
Been stymied quite a bit, Cruceratus. He's got a bit of the ball, but he just hasn't been able to get past that first defender today. I think Cusis in particular has done a great job.
He's played at a pretty decent level in Bulgaria the last year as Chris Cusis, so
I'm surprised at Cusis. Cusis was one of those players a few years ago people had quite high reps on and it never really kicked on.
to for this corner. Shown to deliver. Symes tried to punch it away. It's still alive until Sesnick got it clear. Ford will fight for it, but it's Beckett. Just on Chris Cusis, he's had so many injury problems, especially his time at Hume. Such a gifted youngster. He actually played a bit in Argentina as a teenager as well, so he's been around the world a bit, as football can do that to some players.
Well, I think, one of those players that, had he stayed fit, probably would have got an A-League gig at some point in actually consistent kind of performances, but just a bit of bad luck. And I suppose in football you've got to find the jobs where you find them. You can't just stick around in one spot.
From Port have used, it's perfect timing for Cusis to come back, because Ko De Godoy, and he's also suspended with Michael Eager, who's been playing that left back position, and Michael Lee as well has made his move to Altona, so perfect timing for Cusis to come back into this Port squad. Now they move it forward. Konagaya snapping at his heels is Beckett. He's the one who wins the ball. Now Shrone. It's Norton and Shrone over the top looking for Bates. The ball sat up and Bates has got it, and he can drive it in towards the box. Can he find a blue shirt? In the end it was well blocked by Port and they get it clear.
A lot of the South fans are probably going to be upset with Bates there. I think it was actually the South attackers all ran to the wrong spot. All the Port defenders ran to the goal line. If a few of them hung back, easy slot for Bates to pass it back.
They all made the same run, didn't they? Across the 6-year box.
All it would have taken was one guy to stay back.
And Skipetis can't jump up and get that ball out of the air.
Billy Constantinides, yes. Peter Skipetis, no, not that kind of pass.
Interesting to see. They look like a handball on the attack there. Referee lets the game go. Konagaya. So no, he always wants to get back to that left foot. Into the channel now. Ibrahim is offside.
That's discipline from South's defenders. Kept the line. Didn't get sucked in.
And as always, we are live and interactive on Facebook, so As Demetra says, Paul Mavroudis should be doing special comments on Wednesday night at Summer Street as well, if you guys are streaming it. The game will be streamed, but unfortunately Paul won't be in commentary that night, but I will be. I'll be joined by Josip Herzog.
Yeah, would have loved to have done the Knights game, but here's a chance.
Salados rides a few challenges, and in the end he's brought to the ground, and he's in quite a bit of pain. It's always that nervous one when you get a fullback with a yellow card early and you just get their winger just to attack him and terrorise him for the rest of the day.
And you've got a player the calibre of Joe Salados, just tell him, run at that player.
Well, it is the centre-back, mate. Fight for midfield, Beckett, the strong header, Skipetis, now Bates, crosses in, plenty of white shirts from Port, Beckett again, just tries to drive it back in, and Kiusis is the one who slices it out.
There were players either side there, and I think Beckett took the wrong option.
It cut out for a second before. In the end, Stratomitros. There is some slight internet issues with Facebook, which always tends to happen. So if the feed does cut out slightly, the YouTube feed is working perfectly. So just letting everybody at home know that. In the end, it's Crossaratus gets the foul in another dangerous area for South Melbourne.
Absolutely. And just a sort of a note, I prefer the YouTube. To be honest, I think it works a little bit better. I mean, you're just exchanging one evil empire for the other.
Exactly right. It's always good to get the YouTube up on a smart TV, watch it in your lounge room on the big screen. There's Peter Skipetis. Oh, what a first. Hits the belly of the ball and it rises over the top, but not a bad effort.
Not bad, but I think quite difficult with this breeze to get it on target. It is quite swirly here, and I think possibly better to get it into the box and try and get a loose ball or a header onto goal. Unusual that Marcus Strone actually let somebody else take a free kick. He's been very protective of the set pieces this year, much to the chagrin of some South supporters.
So throw comes in. Now Clark. And Bolton goes back to his goalkeeper. It's the two South Melbourne new boys. Get it clear. Now Beckett. Neat feet in midfield. Salados lets it run, but in the end, Kiusis was there to clear it out. I like the idea from Salados.
Nice work by Beckett as well. He's had a few iffy moments, but every now and again he's done something very nice and actually been the main source of actually feeding people like Salados.
And we believe the internet issues are sort of fixed now, so I do apologise for that. It's You know, this is Australian internet after all. There's only so much we can do.
What's your local member of Parliament?
It's Ibrahim. Well, the ball's left a little bit short, but Maker is able to get it clear. Now Ford trying to win the ball back. Gets in a tangle with Stratomitros, and Doran will go into midfield, and once again it's ill-directed. Clark gets the foul eventually.
Surprised he didn't give it a bit earlier.
So I think Mulcahy is making that point known. Adam Bafkar is one of the referees in this league that really lets the game flow. He doesn't play those, I guess, the ones where a bit 50-50. He makes sure that they're a foul and can get away with a little bit more physical work as the ball's caught by Doran.
I think I prefer the quick referees. I mean, just call it and get everything done with. Personal preference.
Doran gets it clear. Cusis. As the floodlights make full effect of the game now.
Aren't they beautiful?
I must admit it's a great picture of the Melbourne skyline from where we are.
We had Dandenong City players disappearing into the background last week, and we couldn't see them because they were in the dark uniforms and into those dark corners. It's take for granted good lighting.
One good thing about Dandenong City is they are going to be investing in their stadium very shortly.
Good to know.
Ball over the top. Crossaratus is onside. Tries to find Sharon. Gets the shot away, but once again, there's Port bodies in the way to stop it from getting in on goal. Now Crossaratus will fight for it again. Ibrahim wins it. Once again, trying to find support, and he gets the foul.
Played 15 minutes of the second half, 16 minutes, and neither side's really made a really threatening move on goal. That one chance from Bates where all the South players ran into the right position, and that's been about it.
Bates lays it off. Now Beckett. 62 minutes played in this one. Still, both sides are level from first half goals from Giuseppe Marafiotti for South Melbourne in the 9th minute and Valley Sesnick in the 39th minute. Must admit, it's been a game where both goalkeepers haven't had to make a huge amount of saves. Beckett. Again, can't find the final pass in the attacking third.
And now the South players have got to get back because they've turned that over right in the centre of midfield.
Now Mulcahy.
This is slow from Port. They should have gone faster.
I agree with that. There's been plenty of times in the game where they've just tried to take the tempo out of the game. As Ford with the push in the back is penalised. And the ball was still moving as the ball was going over the top to Skapetis. So delicately poised. We can also go over the NPL Victoria results. For this weekend, back on Friday night, it was Dandenong City who pulled apart Pascoe Vale at CB Smith.
And I think we can safely say that Dandenong City now are back in this. They're really strengthened, and I think a lot of teams are going to be afraid of playing that mob right now.
You look at Adrian Leo, who unfortunately had a pretty serious injury against South Melbourne last week, but Carl Valeri, Brennan Santalab, Stipo Andrasovic, who's great to see him back into form and with all the injury problems he's had. So
he had that big move to Bentley a few years ago and just never got on the field.
South Melbourne with this free kick. It's going to go to the back post. Crossaratus. It's forced wide. Now he gets it into the box. And once again, Crossaratus just hasn't been able to get that final pass to a South shirt. And Port go up the line.
It's just not working for him. I mean, he started the season off really promisingly, scored a goal in the opening game against Bentley, and since then it's just sort of been just not there. It's just lack of confidence, lack of opportunity. rare chance for him to have a full game this week, and he's just not quite made the most of it.
Always interested to see the ruling on that when the ball hits the corner flag. If the referee, or hits the corner flag and goes out, if the referee will give a throw or a corner, but
Depends which side it goes on.
that just went right through the corner flag, so in the end a throw has been given and the change is now made where Kamal Ibrahim makes way. Looks like Brodie Taylor is entered the fray for Port Melbourne. Ford lays it back. Mulcahy.
Ford had that chance to go a little bit earlier than he did. Ended up having to play it back and already a nothing shot there. Could have taken a shot. Could have done a little dinky cross.
In the end, Mulcahy's tried to put it in the top corner from 35 yards and in the end has put it well wide.
I mean, there's something to be said for, waiting for the right chance, but equally, I think for a lot of the players in this competition, your first chance is going to be your best chance.
Now it's Taylor. In fact, it's Sesnick. Rides a few challenges. Goes into the box. Cuts it back looking for Konogaya. Sesnick gets it again and it's going to trickle its way almost out and South keep it alive. Karoma. What an excellent interception that was.
Very lucky, I think. Again, could have played the ball a little bit earlier to the players right on the edge of the 6-yard box.
Now Kiusis loses out. Crossaratus. It's been a good battle between them two. In fact, it was Lambopoulos who's penalised for the foul, much to the dismay of the South crowd in front of us, Paul.
Bit stiff, I think, there, Perry. I think he not too much in there.
.66 minutes gone, still delicately poised at 1-1. Kiusis. Great tail on the delivery.
That was a great ball.
In the end, South Melbourne were able to get it momentarily clear. Ball stuck in the corner. In the end, they've played it out well. Salados couldn't turn this time. Now Port. And there was a very hopeful dive there for looking for a penalty, and Adam Bavkar did not like that one bit.
Great call. If he thinks he's dived, give him the card. But that cross from Cusis was fantastic. That made Josh Doran come out 3 steps, go back 2 steps. That's a keeper's worst nightmare.
So that was just going back to the NPL Victoria results. Dandy City 4, Pascoe Vale 1. Also on Friday night, Melbourne Knights 0, Heidelberg United 1, with a deflected effort from Harry Noon, giving Heidelberg all 3 points.
I will praise neither side there.
And although Paul has taken off his South beanie, he's still got it across. He's still got the logo across his heart.
Got the keys in the pocket.
It's cleared away. Salados. Ford's in quite a bit of pain on the ground as the game continues. Salados gets it back. Nutmeg from Salados. Drives it forward to Jerry. Lays it off. Is this the chance for South at the back post? Crossaratus back in board. And guess who's there to score? It is South Melbourne who take the lead.
What a great goal. I mean, taking advantage of Ford being down. I think the Port players wanted to, get the ball kicked out, but keep playing, play to the whistle.
So it's Peter Skapetis who gets the goal for South Melbourne. Sorry, just had the audio cut out very briefly then. In the end, it's Peter Skapetis who gives South Melbourne back the lead.
Was that Crossaratus to get the ball alive? That was a great effort as well.
It was Salados, Crossaratus, and then Skapetis with the finish. His first goal in a South Melbourne shirt. The former South Melbourne junior back to the club after spending a bit of time overseas and up in the A-League in Queensland and starting the season with the Thunder.
We're going to see how South reacts to this because they've got 20 minutes. Are they going to go into their shell or are they going to sit back? I'd rather they actually attack.
And that's exactly what they do right now with Crossaratus, who just set up the goal for South Melbourne. Can he go himself? Clips it into a dangerous area. Maker's got the positioning perfect, controlled it.
The control was excellent because they could have flown anywhere.
Port get it back. Kiusis. Now Beckett.
He's been excellent in the second half. He's, like I said, a bit iffy in the first half, a few mistakes, but this second half he's been immense. Really surprising.
He's really controlled that midfield. Won the ball back quickly for South, and now they go over the top again. Kiusis heads the ball back into midfield. Salados doesn't get the foul.
No foul there.
South try to keep the ball going forward. It's out for a throw.
Salados is having words at the referee, but I think that was just a 50-50 battle of strength, and he's lost it because he's just a little kid.
And in the end, the Port bench aren't happy with what's happened just in front of them. So Peter Skapetis, well, it is a pretty tight technical area, and the ball was over that side of the pitch, so...
Piddick is not a shy coach. He does like being very vocal with his players, the opposition and the referees.
There's quite a few managers in this league. Some of the vantage points are right in between the two benches, so you hear some pretty colourful language.
Yeah, Piddick, Vitalo Ferrante combination is...
As we wait to see what Adam Bavkar does, he's going to have a talking to, and
they probably still hear Piddick in Queensland, couldn't they?
They probably could hear Adam Piddick in Queensland. And in the end, Adam Bavkar tries to settle things down.
Got a bit of banter from the crowd as well.
Telling Marcus Shrone to book the referee.
Marcus Shrone is a police officer, you see.
There you go.
They try to keep that under wraps for a very long time. It's the secret's out.
The secret's out. Paul's just dumped it out on everybody on the NPL streams. Now we're inside the final 20 minutes. Beckett. See South Melbourne having one of those little periods in the game where they really are dominating a game. This time the pass is too wide for Crossaratus, who...
Looks like a substitution going to be made here.
It will be the young Queenslander Finn Beakhurst to make way for Alan Mulcahy. So another more attacking option. He's played in the wide areas mostly so far this season, and big Billy Constantinides is going to come on for Jerry Salados.
So therefore I assume for South Melbourne that Peter Skapetis will drop back into midfield and Billy Constantinides will move up forward.
Skapetis, the goal scorer, while playing at Dandenong Thunder, did play off Brendan Barnes, the main striker, in one of the attacking midfield spots.
And took a penalty off him against Oakley and missed it.
Yeah, so I was calling that game as well too, and
I was watching it on the live stream. I couldn't believe it.
And with Brendan Barnes' ball in hand, you just think, just give it to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most lethal finishers in this league, but...
I mean, that was the game he scored his 100th goal for Dandenong Thunder as well. It's like, mate, you've got to recognise who the top dog is.
Only took him, I think, 4 seasons really to do that too, Brendan Barnes.
Mind you, probably 2 of those seasons were against Nunawading, so you've got 4 games there. That's 80 goals.
Well, that's very, very true. The evolution of the idea.
It's evolving well.
As the ball's now back with Lambropoulos. Good turn by Beckett. Not once, but twice, and he keeps going, Melvin Beckett. Can he finish off the good work with a pass to Constantinides? The crowd wanted him to shoot. I wanted him to shoot.
I want him to shoot. He's going to become a cult figure. The most unlikely defensive midfield you could find.
Now it's Crossaratus drives again. In a tangle. Kiusis. Held up in the corner. Needs support. He's got it in Maker.
Crossaratus had actually beaten his defender, then got back into the contest.
South stay on the attack through Shrone.
Whoa. That was not pretty. That was just a big throw. That was a Greco-Roman wrestling.
In the end, it's probably the easiest foul that Adam Bavkar is going to have to give.
That's the kind of free kick Travis Cloak would give away in a different sport, in a different time. Not sure what that is.
Just like the Collingwood fans, all the South fans are up in arms.
Oh, well, that's you've got to be a bit of both there. I'm both a Collingwood and a South fan, so it's very unusual. Chris Arradas had his back to goals, no threat there.
Well, Marcus Schoen scored in a fairly similar position against Altona, maybe a bit more narrow.
A bit further up the field. Should get into the 6-yard box here.
The ball's always going to be bending towards the goalkeeper with Schoen with his left foot delivery. Throws it in. In the end, it's well dealt with. South will get it back though. Beckett, first time ball. Looking for Crossaratus, Kouyoussis away. Now Alton. Lampropoulos. Again, Kouyoussis defends well. Trying to keep the ball alive is Clark. He's done well to turn Melvin Beckett the first time, but he comes back and wins the challenge. And then in the end, the foul has been given away.
But Port getting frustrated. That's probably the first move they've had since they conceded the goal, so they've got to get a move on.
As we now are well into the final 15 minutes of this game, the final game in NPL Victoria for the week here. Of course, we've got big cup games during the week.
This is such a crucial game for both sides. Well, I mean, some people might be looking for finals. I think this is a real relegation clash here, and if South can win this, they put a massive gap between themselves and the third last team. Port drop this, they're well on the mix, and especially with South, they've got Avondale next week, and after that they've got Pascoe Vale and Kingston, not in that order, at home. So the win here, massive for them.
So you've got Knights, Avondale, Kingston, then Pascoe Vale. As that ball goes out for a throw. Also in NPL Victoria on Saturday, Green Gully 1, Bentley Greens 1. Green Gully scored in the 90th minute with a late penalty, and then Thurtell in the 96th minute with basically the last kick of the game was able to tap in. So both the green teams shared a point, although Bentley was in orange that day. Ball's over the top. Doran, who hasn't really had a lot to do in this second half, well, he's learned off Roganovic. He'll just slow things down.
Green Gully, a bit of the inverse from last season. They started off slow this season and actually really picked up now. They're quite a competitive unit.
And I was at Hume City when they recorded a 2-0 victory over Altona Magic. Altona with so many injury issues this season.
That's taking nothing away from Hume, whose run of form has been brilliant.
Port moving to attack. Kunagaya hasn't really been able to get into the game much this second half. Now he gets to turn in the box and trying to get a corner. In the end, South half get it clear. In fact, now they get the ball and they can start the counter attack. Crossaratus can drive it again forward. Back post delivery looking for Constantinides. The idea was right, the delivery just a bit too heavy.
I think it was a bit fortunate for Port that was Chris Arradas and not Bates, because Bates would have had the speed to actually get into the box.
Just going back to Hume City with cup victories against the Bentley Greens and Heidelberg United in recent weeks.
Another sub here.
They've had an excellent run. That will be a Port substitution. As number 25 comes on for Port, we'll stay with the play at the moment for Kouyoussis. Ball over the top. Crossaratus stuck in the corner. Keeps it alive and gets past Maker. Lays it off to Bates, crosses it in. And Constantinides, it was cut out before it could get to him, and Beckett from long range. While if he scored that, he would have brought the house down.
Poor decision.
They love him
on the right-hand side.
And I'll have to go deep into my Notes just to look at the number 25 who has come on, because a couple of players were handwritten in. Giordani Marafiotti is the man who's come on.
Yeah, Gio Marafiotti, so an attacking player. Got to throw everything out forward now because there's no point in losing 3-1-4 not to make a difference. They've got to get the goal back.
And it's going to be South Melbourne to make a change as well, as Keenan Gibson's going to come on for Peter Skapetis. So Gibson crossing over from Avondale.
So it's a defensive move, countering Port's attacking move. Especially if Giordano Marafiotti plays inside off the main striker. Just got the extra cover there.
So Gibson comes on and he makes his debut. The South fans clap Peter Skapetis. It's his goal that separates the two sides at the moment. In the final 10 minutes of the final game of round 16 here in NPL Victoria, the local derby between South Melbourne and Port Melbourne, as Maker drives it forward. Ill-directed pass, and so was that one. So very sloppy from Port.
They still have time, Port. They can still be a little bit more patient than what that was. That was a really nothing pass.
Just also with NPL Victoria, Dandenong Thunder 3, Oakley Cannons 5. Oakley Cannons, well, they normally start the season very slow and find their groove, and they're doing that exactly the same this year.
Well, I had the feeling that Oakley would come good eventually.
As Crosseradis once again gets the better of the Port defence. Cuts inside again to heavy touch, the sliding challenge, and he gives away the foul. And he gets the card. He was always reaching for that challenge. He's
just trying too hard, I think. It's just not working out for him, and he's just overcompensating. Maybe just get the ball in. Just do the simple things. Just go back to the basics.
And also Kingston City last night in a pretty entertaining game against Avondale. Avondale, Scott Hillier with a red card. And in the end it was a couple of penalties from Liam Boland's. And in fact it was a Boland hat-trick as well. And Avondale get all 3 points again.
That's an important win for Avondale because they've been a bit skittish lately. They haven't quite been putting teams away.
And Kingston City in all sorts of trouble now.
You don't want to write off teams just yet, but you get the feeling that Kingston and Dandenong Thunder are really under the pump.
Nick Tolios has done such a good job with Kingston City, firstly to get them promoted and keep them in the league for a couple of years, considering you look at the budget that they would have compared to most other clubs, and he's had to go to the State League for new signings in the window. As the ball's now forward, it's Bates. He's got time to look inside and clip it into the back post. Once again, it's just shielded out for a goal kick, but back on Kingston with Nick Tolios.
Kingston play beautiful football. I mean, for the calibre of players they've got, for the budget they have, very attractive. Everyone looks forward to actually watching Kingston play on the live streams and even in person. It'd be a real shame if they go down, but it's a really cutthroat business. A lot of teams spending big on very credentialed players. Something's got to give. Can't all stay up.
And now it's Marafiotti. Shows his skill. Couldn't find a teammate in the box. Brody Taylor. Now Clark. Cross comes in. It's well headed away by Olden. Now Connor Gale.
That's so poor. That's just poor decision making, and it separates the best from the worst in this competition. You know, make the right choices, build up the play patiently. You still got 7 or 8 minutes plus injury time. Could have stepped up. That's a very poor decision. I mean, yeah, they look great if they go in, but so rarely go in.
Well, goal scoring has been a problem for Port Melbourne this season.
So and they've got the calibre to score goals. I mean, there's not, they've got no attacking players. They've got players that can put the ball away. It just hasn't worked out for them for this season for some reason.
Taylor's put the ball back, one of the new acquisitions. The time with Melbourne Knights and the Bentley Greens. Now finding his home at JL Murphy as Beckett gets it back into the channel. Crosseradis, here's Billy Constantinides. And it's slides over as he took the shot, and pretty easy for the goalkeeper. Gibson. Right in front of the South Melbourne box, keeps it alive. Now crossfield from Clark. Nagaya. Now Fern switches it out. Karoma. Great chest control, but in the end it was too tight to the sideline.
Just not working out for them at the moment. I mean, there's always one slip up, one chance. That's all they need just to get that point. Doesn't look like it at the moment. And to their credit, South are defending pretty well.
It's poor play by Maker. And Bates is just going to try to drive past him. In the end, couldn't get the angle for the shot. Maker with the covering challenge and gets it out for a corner.
Not too many players in this league can keep up with Zach Bates in terms of pace, and Maker's done well to at least half make up for his mistake.
No hurry to take this corner. They're gathering at the Clarendon corner.
Big shout out to Row H.
Finding their voice as they can see a South Melbourne victory as we're only 5 minutes away. With many changes tonight too, with the eye to the cup. If they can get the 3 points here and freshen the squad up for that Melbourne Knights game, they're in a great position to get back on the national stage as the ball cuts in. Port get it clear.
That just plays into South's hands now, take their time. Doesn't seem to be that much urgency from the Port players. They're not rushing up to defend anything. It's all a bit flat.
Across the Raiders.
Almost everything's come from this right-hand side in this second half.
Constantinides. Now into the box. It's going to bounce, and Symes will eventually get off his line and collect. This plays it long out wide. Ball's going to be controlled. Now Port. Maguire. Marafiotti. Now Clark. South are sitting deep inside their box. Beakhurst. Back post delivery. It's headed away. Conagaya. Try to get onto his left foot to shoot. In the end, drips it into the box. Doran has to come out. And in the end, Ford was a bit too strong in the challenge again and gives away another foul.
I think South sat a bit too deep there and invited Port to go up too much. But I think Kanagaya as well, a bit too keen to get forward, and maybe if he took a step back a bit, he would have had a much better chance for a shot or a cross. As you see, the classic South Melbourne shuffle to the exits. That could be 3-0 up, that could be 3-0 down. They always leave a bit 5 minutes early to beat the traffic. This goes back to the NSL days. It's the most maddening thing. Mild Mangs is doing. He was a burger.
It's, especially when the game is still...
It's alive. You might see the goal of the season and you've missed it.
Doran plays it long. Maker heads it away.
You think they would have learned after the 91 grand final not to leave the game early?
Shone plays it out wide. I'd like to know how many left early for that Dandenong City Cup game as well.
I was in the social club, miserable.
Beckett on the ground, makes the challenge, and he... Maguire. Once again, it's just a heavy touch out wide.
It's just not worked out for them in the second half. They really had the momentum at the end of that first half. And apart from maybe a couple of half chances, just hasn't worked out for them. Not sure what they've changed, why it hasn't happened for them. There were glimpses there early in the second half that they will play around Beckett, and then Beckett's just turned it on, and he's done a great job defensively and even sending balls forward. Probably the man of the match, I reckon. Got my 3 votes, not that it counts for much.
Well, a little birdie's told me that the corner flag team of the week might be back this week too, so we're pretty certain that Melvin Beckett's going to be sitting in that midfield.
One of the concerns with Nikola Ruganovic is not playing today was his kicking this season, and I think Josh Doran hasn't done the best job in that either, so it just gives the ball back to the opposition too cheaply.
In fairness to Josh here, once again, Maker just dwelled on the ball. In the end, Clark gets it back. On the top, Marafiotti headed away from him. Says Nick. And Karoma. Once again, just there's no real urgency in Port as they're trying to chase this game as we head towards the 90th minute now. Into the box, Ford. It's going to fall almost for Ford. In the end, South too well to get it clear. Now Karoma crosses it in. Finds its way to the back post. Beakhurst can't keep it alive.
Got 5 minutes of injury time.
So 5 minutes for Port to get the equaliser, and they need to really lift the urgency now to get a late goal and a share of the spoils here today. In truth, they haven't really offered much of a goal mouth disturbance to South. Maybe now they can. Ball headed into the box, volley, and it's over the top. Giordone Marafiotti.
Well, Gio Marafiotti, that was the chance to prove to all the doubters, to all the South coaches that they got it wrong. And unfortunately for him, he's put it up well over the bar. Could have put it low, could have put it left or right, and it's just maybe proving some people right.
So Gio Marafiotti.
Tell you what, that's the club's worst nightmare. That you get the sub coming off from from his former club, scoring against them.
I can't believe how stocky Marafiotti is too. He's really solidly built youngster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you should see his goal celebrations too. What he's done in the under-20s, it's quite elaborate.
Yes, the ball's deflected to Shrone. Again, he tries to feed Crossaratus.
I actually taught in a uni class. I taught a cousin of the Marafiotti brothers, and I used to put up in the classroom the Marafiotti goals. She had no idea that they were such celebrities.
So if you score goals in a South Melbourne shirt, you are a celebrity, definitely in Victorian football.
Absolutely.
Port get it back. Brodie Taylor left the pass a bit short for Clark. He wants to get on with it quickly. Taylor, in the end, it's cleared away and volleyed back onto the pitch. I'm not sure where Stratometros was trying to clear that, but probably back not on the pitch.
He's trying to do it away from the ball boys.
Some of the dark arts here in NPL Victoria. As Ford tried to turn again, Connor Geyer, back post, headed away. Norton's done well to retrieve his own header.
That could have gone anywhere, and luckily for Norton, he actually went backwards away from every Port player in the vicinity.
I just feel that Port are going to have this one more big chance in this stoppage time to get a share of the points. They'll be able to make the most of it as a ball has been kicked back onto the pitch.
That's dark arts.
It's part of the football makeup. You've got to be a master of the dark arts. Ford trying to get it back in. Here's the chance. Sesnick blocked. Marafiotti. Clark. In the end, Beakhurst slips over and South just clear it.
Well, they've got about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes tops to actually get this goal.
That's a poor pass though. Opens the chance up for Bates. Bates is in the box. His touch takes him wide and his shot also goes wide as the South fans got off their chair as they saw the side of the net ripple, but it wasn't in the goal.
He's there for the taking.
Port get it clear. Solid header one.
That's a great header.
And it sets up South Melbourne again. Crossaratus in the box. Trying to play it first time back to Constantinides, and in the end has to be cleared for another corner, but this could pretty much take time down right to the end for South Melbourne.
A bit panicky there from the Port defence. They probably couldn't let that go out for a goal kick, but they've cleared it for a corner. It's going to take 30 seconds to a minute to sort out. They might try to play it in the corner here as well, which will probably take even longer. You see Billy Constantinides rocking up now to do the little dark arts, trickery, shield it. He's a big boy.
So South to keep it in the corner. But Constantinides tricks everybody and turned away from the corner and gave the ball up.
He's overthought that.
It's going to fall into midfield. Shrone forward. Constantinides, can he shield his defender away? No, Clark tried to play it back to the keeper. He shouts for a back pass, but I guess with Constantinides in close proximity, he never really properly controlled it. In the end, referee waves it away. Port continue. Karoma. Now they need a decent delivery here. Just dwelled on it. Cut back inside and the chance is gone for Port Melbourne. South will take it clear. Over the top, Constantinides is offside. But in the end, Adam Bathcar blows full time here at Lakeside Stadium. It is South Melbourne who get the victory against Port Melbourne here in the derby. It is South Melbourne 2, Port Melbourne 1. And it is goals in this game for Giuseppe Marifiotti in the 9th minute. Valley Sesnick equalised for Port in the 39th. But Peter Skapetis got the goal in the 69th minute, and South Melbourne get their victory, and they move, as you say, away from the relegation spots and push themselves closer to the finals, now in 7th position.
Big win for South with a makeshift team and a big loss of Port. They would have seen this game and thought, this is 3 points we really should be winning. Very disappointing effort by Port in the second half. They just didn't turn up, apart from maybe the first 5 minutes and sort of the last 5 minutes where South were on the back foot trying to keep the lead. Credit to South for taking the win, taking their chances. Not to borrow a phrase from old friend Chris Taylor, it's a game of moments. South took their moments. Port barely created any in the second half.
So it's an excellent performance, particularly the second half by South Melbourne. It's victory for them as they turn their intentions to the midweek games in the Cup. And we've got a couple of real rippers for you. Hume City versus Oakley at ABD Stadium on Tuesday night. It'll be streamed live on the Football Victoria Facebook and YouTube pages. And on Wednesday night, the big one, Melbourne Knights versus South Melbourne, as both former national champions get the chance to get back onto the national stage in another big derby for South Melbourne. And we look forward to having you for those streams, or if you can't watch it on the streams, definitely get to the ground, get to Knights Stadium, make sure it's a packed out crowd. My name is Chris Gleeson, and thank you so much, Paul Mavroudis, for your commentary for tonight.
It was an absolute pleasure. I'd love to do it again.
And you definitely will be, mate. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your Sunday night, and goodbye.